Hey everybody, this is Pastor Kirk at Redeemer Lutheran Church. I know we're a little cooped up during this time while we are under quarantine, and I thought that I would just send a little devotional message your way while we are waiting to gather together again for, gather on the internet again for our Wednesday midweek Lenten worship. But until then, if you've got a little extra free time, there's no better way to spend some of that time than to be in God's Word. And so that's what I hope to do, is to bring you a few messages that you can be encouraged by during this time. And it's something that we can maybe even continue once this is all passed by us, and that's the hope. I wanted to share with you a scripture reading today. And if you have a Bible at home, you can take it out and, of course, follow along. If you have a phone or something that you want to follow along with, what I'm going to be looking at is the book of Psalms and Psalm 121. Psalm 121 goes like this: I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going, both now and forevermore. Now, I think this is a very appropriate psalm for what we are enduring together as a country, and really as humanity, as this is something that is certainly very far-reaching. So I wanted to tell a quick story before I dive into the meat of this wonderful psalm. When I was a teacher at Christ the King Lutheran School, one of the things that I thought was really cool was that we had a floor hockey league where all the kids could participate. And actually, that's been going on for a very long time. Jim Novi, he was my science teacher when I was in 7th and 8th grade. He had actually started this a really long time ago. And the really cool thing about it was the kids in 1st grade through 4th grade would be put on all these floor hockey teams, and the 8th graders would be the coaches of those teams. And it was no different when I was in 8th grade. When I was an 8th grader, I coached a floor hockey team for Christ the King Lutheran School. We were the Panthers, because they chose NFL football teams to name our floor hockey teams after. And I'm going to be honest with you, whoever made the teams that year did not make the Panthers a very strong team. So there were 6 teams, and my friends who were in 8th grade, they all had other teams, and they were beating us pretty bad. We got destroyed every game. I don't know if it was partly coaching. I'm certainly no Bill Belichick, but we just did not have a strong squad that year. And if anybody who was on my team is listening to this, please forgive me. I love you, but you were pretty rotten at floor hockey. Or maybe I was rotten at coaching. Anyways, they would have these games after school, and we would lose by a lot. Every single game. We would get killed. Floor hockey is just like regular hockey, except kids are running around on a gym floor instead of, skating on ice, just in case you weren't picking up on that. And so we'd lose games like 8-0 and like 10-2, and it was just really rough. Not that I got my feelings hurt, but I started feeling really bad for the kids because they were trying so hard, but they just couldn't win. They were pretty hopeless. Everybody was better than we were, and that was just the way that it was. Until one day, it was the last game of the season, and for whatever reason, there weren't a whole lot of kids that showed up to play for the team that we were playing against. So they didn't have enough kids, and the referee said, well, how about this? We'll allow coaches to play goalie so that there's enough kids to be out on the court to do all the other stuff. Now, something that you should know about me. I grew up in a town called Linfield, Massachusetts, and one of the things that we did every single day that the weather allowed for it was we would play street hockey. I loved street hockey. and I was pretty good at street hockey. And you know what position that I played more than any other position? I was the goalie. I even had all like the goalie equipment. It was a really serious thing for a while. So you can imagine what went through my head when they said, well, one of the coaches for each team can play goalie for their team. I was like, yeah, I got this. All right. And so the game started, and the kids start playing, and I tell myself, look, I don't care what happens. Nothing is getting by me today. And so I played goalie as hard as I possibly could. Kids were taking shots, and I was just swatting them away and just shooting it like halfway down the court. And parents were starting to get mad, and they were yelling at me. They were like, hey, they're just kids, like, let one by. And I was like, nope, no way. You guys don't understand. We haven't won a game. I am playing goalie, and I am going to block every single shot. And I did. And wouldn't you know it, when the kids on our team realized that I was behind them and I was blocking everything and getting them passes up the court, they actually started playing better. They started playing more confidently. They started playing, in a way where they were having more fun. And that fun built their confidence, and that confidence built their fun. And wouldn't you know it, we actually scored a couple goals. And by the end of the game, everybody in the stands was angry at me. And honestly, even Mr. Novi was probably wondering what on earth I was doing, and he was the referee and the teacher that I was talking about. He was a little concerned that I was taking it so seriously. But the kids, when that final buzzer rang, you would have thought that we just won the Super Bowl. We were jumping up and down, we were hugging and high-fiving, we were spraying apple juice everywhere out of juice boxes. It was like a locker room celebration right at the center of the court. They were so excited that they finally got a chance to win a game. And it was mostly because they were confident that they knew that nothing was going to get by me when the puck got behind them. So why do I tell that story paired with Psalm 121? Well, Psalm 121 was known as, in the early church, as a soldier's psalm, or other traditions called it the traveler's psalm. And the reason that they called it this was because, these professions of soldiers and people who were going to travel were really going to be people who were facing grave danger. Traveling back then wasn't like traveling now. If you traveled a long distance, you were really putting yourself at risk for all sorts of reasons. It's just different nowadays. So they would read this psalm, and the reason they would read it is to be comforted, even though they were going to be surrounded by danger. Of course, the soldiers surrounded by danger because the soldier's job is to fight wars, and they could lose their lives. The traveler was in danger because, like I said, traveling wasn't something that was very easy to do back then, and you could lose your life en route to your destination as well. And so before a soldier would go to war, and before a traveler would begin their journey, they would read this psalm. Listen to it again. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? It comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He won't let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber or sleep. The Lord watches over you. He is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going. There's the traveler's hope there, both now and forevermore. It's a really great thing for a soldier to read, to be comforted, or a traveler to read and be comforted. But no matter what your context, I think this is really comforting for us. We face danger in every direction, it's true. You can't even touch a doorknob or a light switch or go out in public right now without feeling some sense of danger. And it can be a little alarming. But, the psalm encourages us to put our trust and our confidence in the Lord. Not in our ability to avoid danger and our ability to even defeat danger, but in the Lord's love for us and his protection over us and his promises for us. Kind of like the confidence that my kids played with when they knew that I had their back. I was behind them. I was supporting them. Even if something got by them, I was going to take care of it, and I was going to make sure that we, in the end, ultimately, were going to win. There was nothing that was going to get by me, so they could move forward in confidence doing the things that they needed to do. Whether or not they felt like they were better than the other team, they could just play the game as they were intended to. What about you? When you go out into the world, it's kind of hard to have confidence right now. But understand, the Lord's got your back. He is your goalie. He is another word for goalie, he's your keeper. And ultimately, no matter how well we are able to do or how terrible we might be at protecting ourselves or doing the things that need to be done, nothing's going to get by Jesus. And so we appeal to him. We trust in him. We trust in him who has our back and who isn't going to let us fail. And ultimately, when the final buzzer sounds for us, whenever that may be, whether it's today or tomorrow, 20 years from now or 100 years from now, when it's all said and done, there's going to be celebration. Not because we earned the win, but because Jesus had our back. So one of the greatest things that we can do, especially during this time, is to live confidently. Yes, be aware of the dangers and understand the dangers that are out there, but know that because Jesus has your back, you can be calm and you can be confident in him because he's got this and he's got you. Thanks be to God. Amen.